just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the first Packer Up Boys of the year, powered by Sportsbet. A massive thank you as always. Sportsbet partnering with Bloke another year. We always really appreciate it. Give us a follow on the feed. I've got a bunch of multis on them at the moment. Matter of fact, I've got a multi of, I think, Sharks and, oh my God, who's Penrith playing this weekend? Canberra. Sharks and Canberra to win.
He looked at me.
Yeah. Sharks and Canberra to win, paying $7.50 or something. It's a trial. And even my bet on the feed that you can copy right now, I literally wrote on it. It's a trial. You don't know who's going to win.
It's very dodgy.
Yeah, you don't know. And yet
second half, anyone comes on.
You have literally no idea. And I think Raiders are paying like $2.50 or something, $2.60, and the Sharks are paying like $2.50, $2.60, and together you're getting $7 for it. So head over to my feed. I've got a bunch of bets up, 11 or 12 bets up there on the moment, some Super Bowl bets, some UFC bets this weekend as well. You can give them a copy, give us a follow on feed, takes 2 seconds. And as always, a massive thank you to Sportsbet. Them supporting us is the reason we can do all these great things. On top of all that, do not miss on Monday at 3 p.m. across all platforms. The season preview has arrived. We filmed it just yesterday. And guess what? It's a record 7.5 hours of rugby league chat. And I actually reckon it's better than last year's, because last year's I felt like if I could have gone back and changed a few things, I felt like we focused too much time on like the obvious big things at each club. Like, you know, the big signing, we spoke about it. Like, whereas the good thing about this preview is, don't get me wrong, we still do speak about that to a degree, but we focus on all the other little stuff that doesn't get talked about as much, like fringe players, like the styles of play. Like for example, the Dragons, we look at Damien Cook and he's going to play 13, and how Gutho and him may be able to link up and create some carnage around the ruck. Wow. All of that kind of good stuff. So it's going to be massive. It's our biggest show of the year by far, the season preview, guys. You don't want to miss it. It is at 3 p.m. On Monday. So make sure to be there across all platforms. Make sure, and listening right now, head to our YouTube. Hit like on the video. It really helps in the algorithm if you hit like on the video. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify as well. Just head over, hit that subscribe button. It really does help us. The Door, how you been, brother?
Oh, what's going on, bro? Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Oh, also, the Barts, they won, didn't they?
The Barts won.
Of course they won, mate. Look,
was that a sports bet on the feed?
It's like anything. It's like anything. Now,
followed you in the tennis too. That didn't go well.
It's like anything, mate. If someone starts to respect you and call you by your real name rather than disrespecting you by calling you the Canes, you feel a bit of love, you get a bit of self-confidence, and that's what the Barts needed. They needed a bit of love, a bit of self-confidence. They believed. After I called them the Barts, they started to believe they got the job done. So there you go. Thanks for coming.
I love it.
I mean, I haven't gotten a thank you yet from the Barts, which is a bit disrespectful, but it is what it is. So hopefully Ellis can reach out. They did actually, funnily enough, they actually asked me to come down, I think like the week I was about to leave for Japan.
Yeah.
The Barts, they reached out. They said, come down.
How good.
So look, that's why they call me Mr. Cricket, baby.
You have been known to come up with a few nicknames in your time.
The Barts. Mate, how you been, bro?
Yeah, been good, brother. 2025, off to a start. Can't believe it
doesn't feel like we've had a big break. I don't feel like
February, bro.
Like, it feels like maybe we had a couple-week break, but Packer Up Boys has been...
I'll just correct you. We have had one episode this year, just before you went away. This is our second episode of the year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Oh, it's all a blur.
I was waiting for my moment to jump in there, but...
Which one was that?
Well, when you called him the Barts for the first time.
That was this year?
Yeah.
Oh,
Time
man.
flies.
I don't know what's
Time
going
doesn't
on.
fly.
I will say this, when like the footy season gets close to starting, and once it starts, it's honestly, it's like a whirlwind. Like nowadays I get anxiety before the season starts. Like the last couple of years you get kind of excited. Now I get anxious because I'm like, oh my God.
You know what's coming.
The commitments and like, you know, making sure that you're keeping everyone happy and all your partners happy and all the sponsors and everything like that. Your radio gigs, all that kind of stuff. You're juggling so many different things, and I'm always try to pride myself on having good relationships and not being. I never want to be seen as someone that goes like and works with someone and they walk away and go, "Fuck, he was such a selfish, lazy." I would kill me if I found out someone felt that way. But once you hit the season, it's literally like a whirlwind. It's a whirlwind, but it's also the best ever. It is the best ever.
And it's week to week, you know what I mean? Especially all the footy you got to consume.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's good. I'm looking forward to it. It's always that weird period of time with no footy.
But think about, like, as I said, I get anxiety, but it's a good anxiety. It's almost like before you run out to a game or
Nervous
something
energy.
nervous energy. But I think about like a big games happen. You come in Monday, the headlines are everywhere, and you're talking with your mates about something crazy that happened. You got all disagreements, different opinions. Like it's the best. It is the best. Matty, how you been, bro?
I've been good. It's been quite a busy week. We've done UFC, we've done the season preview yesterday.
Yeah. So Monday night, got in at about 11. Tuesday, interviewed all the UFC fighters, or as much as like there was some of the lower card that came through earlier, but then we interviewed the UFC fighters that you can actually go and get the podcast now and have a listen to. It's always a pleasure interviewing a guy like Duplessis. Last time we went to Perth, I got to interview him, and that was the first time I'd met him, and he was such a gentleman, gave us so much time.
Isn't he?
And he actually remembered when he came in this time, which is crazy. Think about how many people. Matter of fact, he actually follows Bloke now.
Yeah.
How good.
And he doesn't have to do that. Like, absolute legend. I'm massively on the Duplessis bandwagon.
Same, I am too. He's just a professional. I love even the recent chat on the podcast, him talking seriously about like his fighting, willing to die, but then his back and forth at a press conference, he's right up there without being tacky or carrying on.
Yep.
You know, like
his banter on stage is underrated. Like I wouldn't put it at
comebacks.
I wouldn't put it at like peak Conor McGregor or Chael Sonnen levels. But I don't reckon people appreciate how good he is on the mic.
I agree.
He is, and some of his quotes that he comes up with, like for example, I asked him, I said, when I sat down next to Izzy the last time in Perth and got to interview Izzy, first of all, I came away from the Izzy interview going, mate, he was an absolute gentleman. But I said to Drickus this time, I said, I did feel a lot of like peace and contentment around Izzy. Like he was giving off this energy of like just a very at peace and I felt anyway, and this is not I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way. I know he's a fighter. I know he's still one of the best in the world. I know he's had a good run lately, but I felt like almost a bit of contentment with what he's achieved. Because Izzy, like, what else is there to achieve?
Yeah.
He goes down as one of the greatest in his division ever. He goes down as one of the greatest combat sportsmen ever, in my opinion. I think anyway. Whereas when I was sitting next to Drickus, I got this sense of like burning desire.
Fire,
like it was just fire. That's the feeling. And it felt like the hunter. He was the hunter at that stage.
At the peak of his powers. I feel like that's quite consistent. Being in that zone and that mode forever, it just doesn't happen.
It's impossible. Like
that drive has to, it's got a shelf life.
Eventually, you're going to get to a point where you've achieved so much that you're not going to have the same. I mean, you even look at a guy like Canelo right now. There's reports that he might fight Jake Paul. And even Canelo's last 4 or 5 fights have been, let's say 3 fights, have been decent, but they're not against the same big names he would have fought maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago.
And what's the purpose and the why behind it? Like what to say?
He's
I beat another person.
Yeah, he's already done it. And so with Drickus, even though he was defending his belt at that stage, he hadn't actually fought Israel yet. So there was an element of him he was the hunter still because he needed to clean out. Izzy was the last kind of stage. Anyway, so I said to him, I got an energy of a hunter from you. And then he went into this mad spiel about the buffalo and how it is so smart, the buffalo, that it can scent being hunted and then starts hunting the hunter. And he said, that's what I'm like. I'm the buffalo. You think you're hunting me, but I've actually got your scent and I'm hunting you. I'm going, are you serious? Where'd you come up with that? That's crazy. And we even asked him when we sat on the stage with him with Tom and Eddie, of Hello Sport fame, we said, mate, do you have just the quotes in the back pocket or whatever? And he smirked because he said, he almost implied sometimes he does and sometimes he doesn't, because Strickland said something on Twitter or X about, let's have a deal and just stand up and bang. And Duplessis responded by saying, like, lion don't make deals with packs with men. And he said, I actually got that from Troy. So I was like, Duplessis, man, loved talking to him. He's such a gentleman. He's so easy to get behind. And what a great journey, because you'd remember as well, like when he first came in, he wasn't as loved as he is now.
No.
Yeah.
No, I think he come off the wrong way initially, and obviously his battles between some Aussie and New Zealand fighters.
He's knocking out loved fighters.
That's what I mean.
So of course he's
I just feel like he's really come into his own. I feel like he's gained some experience with the media, with his own personal brand, but he's absolutely nailed it. He's authentic. He's a stand-up bloke. He's a lad, and he can fucking bang.
He's got a bit of rugby league about it.
Yeah, he does.
He really does. You can tell he'd be in a change room with the beers, with the boys, carrying on. Matty, what do you think of the day, mate?
Yeah, as a very casual UFC fan, I've actually, the last 3 Drickus fights, I've actually betted against him. So I think, and I don't think I'm in a huge minority there. Like he was, I think all of Australia wanted Whittaker to win. I think a lot of people, it was probably 50-50 with Strickland and 50-50 with Adesanya. So I'm definitely backing him this time. I'm not making that mistake for a fourth time, but I don't know. Seeing it's much like when you see Latrell in real life. Like they're just so much, their presence and they're just so much bigger in real life. It's I had so much fun. I'm definitely going for Dricus this time.
He walks around 102 kilos, bro.
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
He's jacked. And then so the next day we had the bloody open worked where we were live streaming, myself, Tom and Eddie. And that was a real pinch me moment because and I even said to the boys after, I said, boys, we just hosted an open workouts for KO with like Dricus, Strickland, all those, Wei Lee.
I was watching it, just right there.
Man, the production was so good from
sick.
KO. It was so slick. If you actually go to our YouTube, you can go and watch it now. And we put it up as a podcast too, didn't we?
It's up on podcast. It's up on YouTube.
Go and watch the YouTube. The production that they put together is just so slick.
So good.
Had an awesome time. Tom and Eddie were on fire. Had some really good short clips. So, for example, Tom, he has to try and start an Aussie, oi, oi, oi at the fights this weekend.
That's his favourite rock battle was all time.
It was so good. And then Dricus Duplessis, we had a sculling water battle with him. Bro, he's the fastest skull I've ever seen in my life. Ever.
I've seen that.
I've never seen anything
Sucks it back, he reckons.
He reckons he sucks it back. Make of that what you will. So, yeah, look, and then obviously yesterday we had the season preview. That went forever, and then have the radio show this morning and then this. But, yeah, it's been a busy week, but incredibly lucky to be able to get back into it. But, yeah, make sure to watch the fight this weekend. Make sure to watch it. It's on Sunday. Live and exclusive main event of KO. And also with KO, footy starts tonight. It's tonight. It's actually tonight. It is so crazy that rugby league is back.
Yeah, wow.
4 teams going to Vegas, each play each other in trials this weekend. And the only way to watch them is on KO. All the games are live and exclusive on KO beginning tonight with Sharks v Warriors. And tomorrow night, it's the Panthers playing the Raiders.
We take it for granted, but 2 or 3 years ago, we couldn't watch trials. How crazy is it? The KO's just showing.
Trials are mad because you get to see who is going to potential future stars or potential guns that might play through the year and then win a spot.
They get some good game time too.
Yeah, I enjoy watching the trials and it's always good to speculate. Oh, he was pretty good, or he was. And then also sometimes you see a guy kill it in a trial. He doesn't get an opportunity in this squad and he signs with another club and you're like, he's going to kill it over there. So that's on KO. But boys, what's the algorithm like? What's the algorithm looking like? I tell you what, the algo is looking like for me. The Weeknd, Hurry Up Tomorrow. His last ever album as The Weeknd. Finally.
Oh, what?
Yeah, he closes off the trilogy. So he became famous. He initially launched. It was a trilogy of albums. So 3 albums that all encompassed a kind of story to a degree. And then he had a couple of other studio albums as well. And then he started another trilogy a few years ago when lockdown started, I think 2020 or something like that. After Hours, then he released Dawn FM, and then he released an album called Hurry Up Tomorrow just recently, last week. I think it was last Friday or something like that. And it's, people are calling it a masterpiece. And I tell you what is a masterpiece. I actually got people messaging me going, we need a Hurry Up Tomorrow review. We need a review. But it's such a good CD. It's you can tell how old I am. I'm calling it a CD.
Yeah, wow.
It is such a good album. It is hot. It's got music from all his eras because the one thing with The Weeknd, he's released such a different variety of sounds. He's not just stuck to one sound, and it's got all of his different eras.
So he's changing his name.
Well, he's just killing the character of The Weeknd, and I'm assuming he'll most likely just be his stage name, his real name, which is Abel.
Monday.
Tesfaye. Yeah, Monday. There you go. I'm sure that joke hasn't been used in The Weeknd before.
I've never heard it.
I never heard it. So.
Matty John literally just said it this morning on the radio.
Great minds. Me, Matty.
Anyway, so yeah, incredible album, like from start to finish. Like, there's some like songs in the middle that are solid, but the start and the end are just like unbelievable. And yeah, I'll give it a massive thumbs up. 9 out of 10 for me. The album. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. One of his best.
Wow.
One of his best. But what's your algo looking like, mate?
Mate, I've been I had a little bit of time on the movies and series, so I've been hammering that. Well, I got a new series for you. That I don't know if you've seen it. It's a bit cowboy and Indian vibe on Netflix. Have you seen that one?
What's it called?
Yeah, good question. But it's,
I think I know which one you're talking about. Is it new?
It's good though. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah,
it was
okay,
good. But
okay.
I've been hammering the comedians lately and been on like a little bit of a Theo Von marathon. So I feel like he's just dominating my socials. But
Mate, you know what?
I love him.
Speaking of comedians,
Yes.
You know what I just watched recently? Bo Burnham's Inside.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen it before?
No.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's interesting. It's a classic.
Have you, Matty?
Nah.
Put it this way: it's not like funny like Eddie Murphy Raw.
Yeah.
Even though it is still funny, it's not a Dave Chappelle-esque, but as in when you're talking about humor. However, when you're talking about unique style of comedy, and you're talking about a classic, Bo Burnham Inside isn't a classic.
Where am I watching it?
Netflix.
Okay.
And it's very unique. It's very unique. And you've got to imagine this was done a few years ago when everyone was locked down, couldn't go outside. It is a comedy classic. Who's
your top comedians now?
Chappelle's a GOAT.
Yeah.
For me, Chappelle's number one.
Yeah.
I think Shane Gillis is really
he's
really good.
He's definitely up there.
He's like of the new age guys coming
He's
through.
so good.
I think Theo Von, I don't think his stand-up's funny at all. I think his podcasting is funny.
Yeah. I agree.
Stand-up's
His
not
conversation is funny.
He's probably the funniest podcaster that's
The
out
shit
there.
he says is just so random.
So random.
I love it.
But I think the greatest ever comedian is Dave Chappelle. In regards to classic specials, I think Eddie Murphy Raw is a classic. I think Dave Chappelle has multiple classics. And I think this Bo Burnham Inside is a classic. You've got to watch it. Trust me, it makes you think about life. It has funny songs on it. It is so unique, and he does it all himself. You're not going to realize that, and you're not going to realize the impact of what I'm saying until you actually watch it and go, this dude sat in a room and did this all himself. This guy is a genius.
Yeah,
He's directed movies before. He's a gun, absolute gun. So you got to watch it.
Nice.
What's your algo looking like?
I'll get to that in a sec. Is it called American Primeval?
Yes.
Yeah.
Primeval or something.
Primeval. Yeah.
I liked it.
It's a play on words.
Okay.
American West
I
of
think
the
you'd appreciate
1850s.
Okay.
I'm not a basketball fan by any stretch, but it's just all this LeBron versus Luka Doncic.
That's definitely on the algo.
I've asked all my basketball players. My brother-in-law loves it. Got mates that love it. I've asked them to give it to me in any terms that I can understand.
Some basketball people that I've spoken to recently said it'd be literally like Nathan Cleary just randomly transferring somewhere.
Yeah,
That's how hectic it is.
I saw videos of people playing 2K, and they couldn't even do it in manager mode. That's how outrageous it was.
It is outrageous.
But yeah,
It's one of the all-time trade windows.
dominated.
And I'm excited to see what happens too, because they're two players that get double-teamed by every defense.
Well, there's the race that stops the nation, and there's the trade that stops the world. Because that trade stopped the world. Even if you've never watched a game of basketball in your life, you couldn't escape it. It was everywhere.
And that does wonders for him too. He knows that going to LA, it's a gift. And already his jersey sales have just done fucking stupid numbers.
And didn't they get him for a crazy good deal as well? They could have shopped him around
He's a
for a
good
while.
deal, but Dallas also were just on the cusp of a supermax contract.
Yeah, which they didn't want to
So
pay.
that's 116 million they've saved. It's interesting.
But I think the Cleary comparison would work if all Cleary's teammates were bums. But Penrith are good, whereas Doncic apparently is pretty much the only good player in his team. So they've given away the Nathan Cleary, and they've got literally nobody else.
They got Kyrie Irving. He's good. I don't know what team you would compare it to, but also what would be the transfer? Because they've traded him for a superstar center, which we can kind of say is like a forward. So best prop in the game.
But
right
I feel
now?
like it's bigger than that, though.
Yeah, but
Even if Payne Haas got traded, I think a lot of people would go, you can kind of understand that he wants to win a comp, and he's been trying to at the Broncos. Maybe. I don't know. Fuck, I don't know anything about basketball, so maybe it is like Payne Haas being transferred.
Yeah, but the other way, because you're leaving the great team. But yeah, it's very interesting. Even Jimmy Butler going to Golden State.
So Luka is
No idea.
So Luka is
about
leaving the
cricket.
good team.
No, they're not. Neither of them are like that great
That's
a team.
what I mean.
But Luka is their Cleary.
Yeah.
He's their player. He's generational, and he's 25.
What
That's
about
the other thing.
What about Ponga? Ponga leaving?
But what about the argument though that they haven't? Has he won a premiership?
No.
Because that's the thing with, like, when we talk rugby league, unless they've won a premiership, that's the fallback of, like, well, he's a gun, but he can't take his team to a premiership. So how much of a gun is he really?
Yeah, and that's massive over there.
Yeah, okay.
Would it be
He
like
ain't got a ring. Yeah.
Would it be like the Knights giving Ponga to the Roosters and saying, "Don't give us much back in return"?
Ponga came from there, maybe. Like Luca came from. Where's he from?
Dallas.
Yeah, but it's his home country to Dallas. They brought him into the NBA. He's only ever been in that team. He is the Mavericks.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
I'm sure there's like some basketball absolute
pulling their hair
diehards
out.
right now that are dying right now.
Yeah.
So apologies, guys.
Take it with a grain of salt.
We're not. Yeah, take everything we said with a grain of salt. But actually, you know what? Let us know in the comment section. What would be the equivalent?
Yeah,
'Cause
give us a comparison.
Yeah, give us a comparison because it stopped the world. Is it the craziest trade we've ever seen? I mean, I'm sure there would be some soccer trades that have been mind blowing. You know, when Bex left Manchester United, it was wild. So I'm sure there are some soccer ones.
It
but
is the franchise, being the Lakers, I think, and having the LeBron factor makes it 10x more significant.
I tried to make a joke on the radio and, like, I don't think they really got it, but I just out of nowhere I was like, how does this affect LeBron's legacy? And then they didn't really get it. And I thought, like, that's a basketball joke. You just always ask, how does this affect LeBron's legacy? And anyway. Didn't hit.
Damn.
Not as hard as I wanted to.
That conversation's starting to dwindle off now. Like the whole Michael Jordan, LeBron James. Now it's moved into old iPhone, new iPhone, different generations. That's finally separated.
Okay.
Because what
That's
he's doing
good.
at 40 years old is a joke.
Yeah.
It's
But
an
he's-
absolute piss take.
Yeah, okay. How many premierships has he won? Or rings or whatever?
I'm going to say 3 or 4. Yeah, and he's had
Probably
multiple teams and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And he's lost a lot
Yeah.
of championships. But I think people are just finally acknowledging, or at least just agreeing on the separation of two different generations, whereas it was always Jordan, LeBron.
Yeah.
He's
Wow.
won 4, and he's been in the finals 10 times.
Jeez.
And he's going to be the highest on every
Everything.
stat.
Yeah, wow. 40 years old to still
That's
be doing what he's doing.
nuts.
It's crazy.
And just looking like a savage, having a better year than the years previously.
And what's crazy is from a casual viewer's perspective, because you just watch it on TV and you don't know anything about basketball, because they're all the same height, you don't actually realise they are giants when you see them in real life.
Yeah, bro.
For them to move the way they move, but you don't actually notice it on TV because it's all relative. So they all just look really tall. But like, for example, if you're 6 foot in the NBA, that is tiny.
Well, that to your point, I'm sure you would agree, and I've seen it. Steph Curry looks like a midget.
Yeah.
He's 6'3",
6'3". There
and
you
he
go.
looks tiny.
He's like a small winger to them.
Yeah, he looks like a hooker.
Far out.
That TV thing's crazy. Like, I remember when both Campbell Graham and Jason Stubb, and you know they're tall on TV.
When you see 'em in
But when
real
they
life.
come in here, you're just like, what the fuck?
Right, I remember the first time I seen Trell in real life, and he's just like, how does that bloke move the way he does? I remember when I was the winger for Wendell Sailor's first game back in the NRL for the Dragons, and when he ran on, I used to just for some reason imagine Wendell as like a small, super fast winger, and he ran on, and I was just like, what? He
Yeah.
is so big.
He is big.
He's so big. Yeah, so, well, there you go. There's some deep basketball chat that I'm sure everyone's pulling their hair out and the thing. This is why it's called Packer Up, boys. We're allowed to talk about whatever we want, guys. You know, we're allowed to talk about whatever we want. I'll tell you what, speaking of movies, I don't know if I spoke about this last time, but there is a movie called After Sun that is still rattling around in my brain. That
We had the review.
I think we might have had a bit of the
we did,
review
yeah.
last time we spoke, but I just want to bring it back up because there'll be people flocking back into the podcast because the footy season's about to start. After Sun, it has absolutely rattled me. I'm still rattled from it. Still rattled. It is such a good bloody movie.
Oh, no, I do. Yeah, you did tell me about that. Where are we watching that?
Oh, on Apple TV, you can
Yeah,
just
see,
buy it.
that's my problem.
You can buy it. You're not an Apple TV guy.
Nah.
You can get the app on anything. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
on any
right.
TV.
Yeah, no excuses. I'll watch
Mate,
it.
don't look.
Apologies.
I get it. You reckon you're all healthy.
And how many-
This is Sandor. I don't actually have TVs because I'm so healthy. Like that's for unhealthy people. That's Sandor.
Lazy.
That's lazy. I just
so
eat
how many-
meat. I eat meat. I don't watch TV.
How many beaks did that get?
4 beaks out of 5. 4.5 beaks out of 5.
Wow.
Yeah, it's heavy. What's funny is I watched it with the wife, and she when she watches stuff, she can like zone in and out. Like if she's fully focused, she'll be sweet.
You'd hate that.
But she zones in and out, and we got to the end. There was this like fully climactic moment And I'm like waiting for a reaction from
just
her.
didn't get the same.
And there was like
energy.
no reaction. And I was like, does she realize what's just happened? Anyway, so I let the movie finish because I didn't want to ruin it for her. I didn't want to be one of those people like, did you blah, 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 while the movie's
So
going.
what do you think?
And I was like, what do you think? She's like, oh, yeah, it was all right. And I was like, well, what do you think of the end bit? And she was like, yeah, it was all right. And I was like, do you realize what happened? And she's like, not really. And I was like, well, that's why you think it's just all right. And I had to explain to her what happened. And she's like, oh, shit, that's pretty
wanna watch it
hectic.
back?
She was like, oh, shit, that's pretty hectic after I explained to her. So, I mean, to be fair, she's a mother now. She's got plenty of other things to friggin' worry about and also pregnant as well. So that is one reason why she may be not focusing as much. But
How long?
I
long you got?
how long till the second one?
Yeah.
Like mid-June or
Oh.
June, July or something like that. 2 is going to be wild, man. One is already wild.
You know what you're having?
I can't say it.
Yeah,
I don't
but
think
you
I'm
know.
allowed to. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
know what happened. Yeah. Anyway, it is what it is. Did you say your algorithm yet?
It was the basketball.
The basketball.
I tell you, I'm just on
was
movies as well.
work.
I'm so slow on watching movies, as you know. I only watched Gladiator for the first time 3 years ago, but I know. Look at him. I started watching The Sopranos last week.
I haven't seen The Sopranos. And
Oh, there you go.
That probably shocks a lot of people. I've never seen it.
I got into it at one point. I enjoyed it, but yeah, don't know what happened.
Also, my algorithm is Kingdom Come Deliverance
Okay.
2. New video game out. What's funny?
I don't know why it's shocking, surprising to me.
And it's like a medieval sim almost. So like it's really like.
I feel like you slut yourself around on video games a bit, eh?
No, what do you mean? They don't last forever. You know, you're going to finish a game.
How many have you got in the wheelhouse?
No, well, not many at the moment. I got Path of Exile 2, but I'm a bit moved past that now. I might go back to it a bit later, but.
How's the online drama going? I can't remember.
Warcraft?
Yeah.
Oh, I moved on from that.
Oh, no.
Moved on from that. That's all done. That's yesterday's news. Yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is apparently a masterpiece, so I get to play. I haven't played it yet because I've been so busy. And so I get to play that hopefully a little bit this Savo. I've got to freaking work all weekend. And also, you know what I love doing? And people will find this weird. You might like it. Is watching. So when a good album comes out,
the frame up.
when a good album comes out, watching people react
Oh,
to
100%.
music
Oh, yeah?
albums. It's the best ever.
YouTube.
So yeah, what you do is you watch them react to
I'd
music.
love to see you do one of those.
A reaction.
Oh, yes.
By yourself with the music on. Oh, please.
Okay. We
Give the
might,
people what they want.
next big album that I'm actually interested in, we'll do a reaction.
I'm just envisioning like a camera with Matty in the car, listening to that Eminem album. I'd love to see that footage.
But yeah, watching people listen to albums and react to them, it's the best ever.
Yeah,
It's
right.
literally the best because you get to the thing with albums these days is that we're all so isolated from each other. We don't do anything together. So when you're sitting there saying like loving an album, like for example, there's nothing better than watching a good movie with a good friend or your wife or whatever and reacting with them and being like, wow, that was amazing and this happened and that happened and discussing like, what did you think of this and what did you think of that? That's the best ever. But we're so isolated and we don't do that. When you watch people reacting to things, it's almost like you're sitting with your friend reacting together and like
They get it and they're sharing the same
they're sharing the
enthusiasm.
same feelings as you.
Yeah.
And so like, that's why I really enjoy reaction, like album reactions, not just random albums, just albums that I really like. And so Hurry Up Tomorrow, it's funny. So the last time I went down the rabbit hole of reactions was his last album, Dawn FM, and the same personalities that react to them. That was like 3 or 4 years ago, but because you haven't seen them for 3 or 4 years, they've all grown like aged and gotten older or whatever, and you see them again. And yeah, so that's good. That's great.
Do you do anyone or do you have a favorite reactor? Because I like
John Denton for Weekend is the best. I think John Denton is probably my favorite. There's another one called Vibe Villa that I really like. They're more hip hop. There's ones called like Screwface that are more hip hop. I don't really enjoy them that much. Not that they're bad. Not my vibe. But Vibe Villa, the Third Ernest, I like him a lot. So probably John Denton, Third Ernest, and Vibe Villa are my 3.
What about what's his name? No Shaq.
No Life Shaq?
Yeah.
No, I think that he's
my favourite. I like him.
I think he plays it up too much. I used to watch him a long time ago. I know he's really popular, but I think he just puts it on a bit too much.
Probably.
Like
I still like him.
every song, no way, man. He gets up, he walks away. No way, man. Gets up, walk away. Whereas I want some I want real reaction.
I've seen that guy now. You say that.
But he's huge though, so clearly he's doing something right. Not having a crack at him because he's killing it. He's so popular now.
Just on hip hop and random sports bet plug, but you can bet on like what song Kendrick's going to open with on Monday. And what song he's going to finish with. You can bet on it. You can bet on a sports bet if he's going to come out in a hoodie. How many songs he's going to play?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Will he play the song? You reckon? I reckon he's playing it for sure.
100%.
I just reckon though it'll be like a little like snippet version, like a minute long. I don't think he'll go through the whole thing.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I think it'll just be like, you'll hear the horns come on. Everyone's going to go nuts. What's funny though is like, I feel like the way Drake is carried on with all the lawsuits and whatever, it's almost forced Kendrick to do it so he doesn't look like he's pussying out of it. If you know what I'm saying? Like, so for example, let's say Drake just let it go, then there wouldn't be this, because right now, if Kendrick doesn't do it, it looks like he's scared of Drake suing him.
Yeah.
And so if you had to just let it go, Drake, and just say, you know what, I took a big fat L. Everyone takes an L. We all lose. If you had just done that, I reckon Kendrick would have maybe just played a version of Not Like Us without the most hectic lines in it and focused more on maybe the third verse or maybe just the chorus or whatever and then moved on from it. But now because he's forced his hand. Because if he doesn't play Not Like Us now and the main bit, everyone's going to be like, oh, you bitched it to Drake, you're scared of him, this, that. So he's like, well, I'm going to have to do it now.
Especially after he won a Grammy for it like 4 days ago.
And they literally, the whole crowd is singing the words.
I know, it's crazy.
To Not Like Us. And like, again, Drake he has handled this all so wrong.
So bad, bro.
So wrong. Just take the L. Just take it. We all lose at some stage. We all lose. And like him pretending, like, so he's suing his record label now, Drake is, because they're under the same umbrella as Kendrick. What's frustrating about it is like, bro, he said heinous things about Kendrick first. He was the first one to say crazy stuff about Kendrick that, wasn't true to our knowledge. Anyway, so it's just, the whole thing's weird, but it's going to be such a halftime show. Kendrick, especially with his latest album, GNX or whatever it is, like you add those bops in with his catalogue of other bops, it is just going to be bangers.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
And SZA there as well. She's so good, SZA. She is. And her last this album she just released was like a deluxe of the last one, but it's kind of like a new one. It's solid, but her last album is unbelievable. Unbelievable album.
It's going to be good.
If you like on Spotify, if you're just going, like I'm a Kendrick fan, but just anyone, you're going, this is Kendrick and click shuffle, you don't realize how many bangers he's got.
He's got heaps of bangers. Like,
heaps.
The thing that frustrates me is people are like, oh yeah, he's only big now because of everything that's happened. It's like, what?
No.
He'd already won like 15 Grammys, been like sold hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of and millions of albums. Like, what are you talking about? But yes, who you got in the Super Bowl? Do you know much about NFL?
Yeah, I follow it enough. I mean, I think it's actually hard, but I think Mahomes does it again.
Like, there was a period, and I know, please, NFL fans, I'm a full-on casual, don't know anything about it, so take everything I say and just go, don't even listen. But I feel like there was a period where everyone was like, there's never going to be a guy that comes even close to Brady. Whereas I feel like Patty Mahomes now, I don't know whether he's close to him yet, but now there's actually a world that we live in that someone may come close. Yeah. Is that fair?
Yeah, that conversation is definitely live and real.
Whereas if you said that 5 years ago, people said, mate, no one will ever get close.
100%.
It's almost like a bit of a Cam Smith situation. Like right now, we all sit here and go, no one will get close to Cam Smith. Like 400 plus games, the greatest ever Origin side, the premierships of Storm. But at the moment with Cleary, I know he will never play the 400 plus games, but if he can go on an Origin run of dominance, like you just don't know.
Yeah.
I think Patty Mahomes, like, what is it? He's at 4 now?
Yep. This will be the 4th.
This will.
And I know he's still got 3 more to go, but he's relatively young, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's in his 20s?
And he's
late
like
20s?
They're obviously same position, but He's a freak talent.
Like he's actually
skill set.
super athletic.
Yeah.
As well as got the arm. So
That new age conversation.
and
the
also
modern era.
with Brady, he played till he's like what 38, 39?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mahomes is 29.
So he's got 10 years to win 4 more Super Bowls.
So if he wins Monday, yeah, it's not impossible.
I think the thing that with Tom Brady, which like solidified him goat of all goats, just crazy, is going from the Patriots,
Yeah.
the Buccaneers.
The Bucs.
Because
Yeah.
the question was always, was it the coach or was it Brady to a degree? And it clearly was Brady. Like it clearly was Brady. What's the coach's name again?
Belichick.
Who had no success after Brady.
Yeah.
They were terrible after Brady, weren't they?
He's gone. He's gone now.
Yeah, go on. He can't get a job.
Like, think about it. If you had said Belichick's not going to be able to get a job 5-6 years ago, people would have laughed. They would have said, you are taking crazy pills. Just shows you how good Brady was.
Crazy.
Brady
right?
goes to the Buccaneers, and when Brady went to the Buccaneers, they weren't that good. He had to bring people with him.
They were bad.
And he
It's
went,
actually insane what he did
the
there.
first year he goes there, he wins it.
Yeah, because didn't he bring Gronkowski there?
Brain Gronk, yeah.
Fuck, that's hectic.
And wasn't Gronk going to retire or something?
I think
Yeah.
I think he pulled him out of retirement.
Yeah, he did.
Right, that's actually insane.
What that does for your legacy.
That's the
Holy
thing that's going to
moly.
be tough for Paddy Mahomes is that people will always say you need to go somewhere else that's not that good, late in your career, or not even late, just somewhere and win a premiership.
That's probably the kicker. I think like even getting to the 7 or 8 is ridiculous, but I don't know how you find that unique scenario where you're just going to pop off to another team, win a Super Bowl. Like, bro, that's I don't know if that's
In
going
his
to happen
first
again,
year as well, because it was his first year there.
I'll check.
First or second?
First or second.
First or second.
I feel like it might have been straight away.
And the way he did it, wasn't that a classic final as well?
Oh yeah, insane.
Like there wasn't that behind by quite a bit or something? Or was that the Patriots that happened at? Anyway, just go. Have you seen his documentary on Apple? Well, probably not because you don't have a TV. You just eat meat.
Just eat meat.
You can get it on your iPhone, can you?
Can you get it like in your kitchen underneath like a slab of meat? Like does it come up on your chopping board where you chop all your
In the
meat?
kitchen TV.
Well, I didn't realize this, and man, NFL fans will pull their hair out when I say this, but Brady did that against Mahomes in 2021. So like that was the Super Bowl.
True.
Yeah, it's almost like the Cleary-Smith thing. And granted, I know Cleary was super young then.
Yeah.
But like Cam Smith's like really the only person that had the ability to ruffle the Penrith Panthers' feathers. And I get it. Like to be extremely clear here, Cleary was super young then, but so was Paddy as well. Paddy Mahomes. I call him Paddy. Call him Paddy.
I think it was his second.
Second year?
I don't know.
Let us know, NFL fans, let us know in the comment section, can Paddy Mahomes become the GOAT? Is it possible? Or is it just like Brady will just be always the GOAT no matter what?
It seems, after everything we've mentioned today, this is ridiculous, but it does seem impossible, but it's just really not. It does seem
He's got
like,
essentially 10 more years.
But
maybe.
but Brady's unique. I don't think people are going to play to 38, 39. That's a...
Yeah. And also, if you're super athletic, that athleticism that you may rely on at times, that's going to go by the time you hit 35, 36, maybe even...
And playing that long suited Brady style. He's not like that. It's very technical.
It's funny, when I was speaking to Smithy, like I spoke to him about his longevity, and he said, like, my biggest strength was my footy mind, not my physical ability. So the older I got, the more experience I got, so it just helped.
Very strategic.
Yeah, okay, well, there you go. You got your NFL. I mean, look, we do all sports here. We get your deep dive in the NBA, some of the best analysis you can find. Then you get some incredible NFL analysis as well. Alrighty, Fogarty's management has reportedly requested permission for him to test the open market. The Raiders have reportedly denied the request. The Raiders have until round 6 to activate a club option for 2026. It's funnily enough, we actually spoke about this in the season preview, so you'll hear a bit about it in the season preview. But for now, and you know, Rue, Timmy, and even Matty were kind of a bit surprised when I was saying, like, you know, Fogarty could potentially retire in a couple of years, or at the very least move on from the Raiders in a couple of years because he's a little bit older. And they were like, I didn't even think of that. The only reason why I'm thinking of that is because like Sanders has been brought to the club from the Eels. And if you're a young gun, you're not going down to Canberra to sit behind Fogarty for 3 years if you can just stay in Sydney in Para and you'll sit behind Mitchell.
Yeah.
And so Mitch Moses. And so what I guess is may be happening is the Raiders brought him down by saying to him, mate, in a couple of years, we want you to be our main 7. And so the fact that they haven't taken up Fogarty's option, maybe that has something to do with it. And maybe that's where Fogarty's going. Well, I want to test the open market because you've brought this kid down that next year is supposed to take my gig. Because, like, if you're Sanders, one of the best 7s in the competition, one of the best young 7s coming through.
How long can you wait?
Well, why would you go down?
Yeah. Oh, you're not going down unless you've had some guarantees.
Yeah, like you've got 2 options here. Let's assume they didn't promise him anything. You've got 2 choices: stay at the Eels and play behind Mitchell Moses, or go down to Canberra where you're not from, you don't have family, and stay behind Fogarty for a couple of years. Like, you'd rather stay behind Mitchell Moses because you get to stay where you're familiar. Mitchell Moses is one of the best 7s in the competition. You're around family. And so I can only assume, and you can look at it at other positions at the Raiders. They've got all these young guns coming through in key positions, number 9, number 1. And number 6 as well. I can only assume they've said to Sanders in the next year or 2, not 25, but maybe 26 or 27, we want you to be our main number 7, because everything else does not make sense to me.
Yeah, and I completely understand Fogarty's position.
100%. Same thing happened at the Titans. He re-signed, then they re-signed Sexton straight after. Sexton came in and had a few good games. The CEO started talking about how good Sexton is. I think it was the CEO, someone high up in the club, at the Titans, started giving Sexton massive raps. And then they allowed Fogarty to bounce. And Fogarty was like, I literally just re-signed, and then this young guy comes a few games and you're going to brush me.
A bit of trauma there too then, yeah.
And so maybe Fogarty's sitting there going, well, give us some time. Like, if you're not going to take up my option, at least give me some time. Like, okay, for example, right now, if he goes to the market, they have whoever he's speaking to, he can say, look, the Raiders might still sign me, so I'm not going to take any low deals. Whereas if they get past round 6 and the Raiders say, we're not going to re-sign you, automatically his value, his negotiation strength reduces dramatically. Yeah. Thoughts, boys?
I think I don't blame Fogarty in the slightest. But I also, this is ruthless and it's crazy, but I don't blame the Raiders for saying no, because it's a big risk, because they're spine without Fogarty. If Sanders comes in, they're all rookies basically.
Yeah.
It's pretty ruthless, but they can't let go of Fogarty.
Well, to be clear, I don't think Raiders are doing anything wrong. He's got a contract that allows them to take an option in round 6. Fogarty agreed to that contract. Like, Fogarty's management, everyone agreed to those terms. So I think the Raiders have every single right to say, no, we're going to wait till round 6 to make a call on this. But I also understand Fogarty at least asking the question. You can at least communicate and ask the question. They can say no.
I think you have to ask the question.
Yeah.
Based on the scenario as well, and his past experiences, he'd be just going, I know how this goes.
100%. You signed this young gun coming through, and I'm sure when Sanders got there, the clubs love him. He's young. He's going to be the next 7, at least in 3 or 4 years at the most. I'm sure Fogarty's been sitting there going, man, I've been here literally multiple times before where a young guy comes in and potentially I'm told don't worry about it, and then before I know it, I should worry about it. But I also, as I said, I agree with you, Matty. I don't think the Raiders, why should they? Their main goal is, if they do everything by the law in regards to the contract and they still give Fogarty a fair opportunity, the only time I get not upset, frustrated with clubs is when they are doing things sneakily to pressure a player out. And for example, dropping him to reserve grade and saying you'll never play first grade unless you bounce. Yeah. That's when I get frustrated. Yeah. But with the Raiders right now, he'll start the season. He'll get every opportunity to show his value on the market. I don't think the Raiders are doing anything wrong in this situation.
No, and I think they're just trying to avoid the disruption. I think what we're talking about is very realistic, and it would be unsettling, at least for Fogarty, which I do not blame him at all for posing the question, or at least trying to get his ducks in a row. But I think the scenario, the Raiders have done the right thing.
Yeah.
And I'll be completely surprised if they don't take up that option either, the Raiders.
If they don't take up the option?
100%. Surely they'll want Fogarty there next year. As I said before, their spine will be, if you bring in Owen Paddy...
But if you're sure of it, why haven't they taken up the option already?
Well, because they can. I guess because they can. If he gets injured in the first... really badly injured, they don't have to sign it. They don't have to activate it now.
Yeah, I know, but I think that I I do believe they'll take up the option for next year, but I'm not so locked in and sure about it because I feel like even if he did get injured at the start of this year, they would still take up the option for next year if that was the case. Like, I don't think an injury is going to be here or there. I do think that they are looking at Sanders and going, how well does he fit the system? How, like, for example, let's say Sanders hits the ground absolutely running. Like, he could, let's say he's the next Lockie Galvin.
He might have just had a cracker preseason too.
Potentially.
Oh, okay, let me rephrase. I personally think it'd be silly for them not to keep Fogarty.
Agreed. Totally agreed. I think I would like to see Fogarty go around for at least till 2026. And maybe what you could do is in the 2026 preseason, say to Sanders, you've got an opportunity to win that jersey, but you've got to win it off Fogarty. Right now, it's probably a little bit too soon, but I understand if the Raiders are looking towards 2027 and saying we're going to transfer into Sanders then, because by that stage, I think Fogarty will be about 33 years old, 33, 34. And so I could understand that. And to be honest, I actually think that's the Raiders' plan.
Yeah, I agree.
I think their plan is to bring Sanders in late 26, 27 to be the main man.
Yeah, Fogarty's
31.
100%. If you have the luxury to do that and manage both players, you'd be mad not to.
Well, I mean, look, there's a reason why they have a club option till round 6 this year. This has been years in planning for the Raiders. You go back and look at some press conferences with Ricky 2-3 years ago. He was talking about, and you actually can go and watch some of our old episodes about, we felt that the Raiders should, rather than trying to recruit a guy that's already established, pay huge bucks to get him down to Canberra and pay overs almost, they should go and get the best young guys coming out of school, not have to pay them as much, but maybe a little bit more than what they'd get elsewhere, bring them down to the Raiders early and then develop them. And that's what Ricky Stewart has talked about 2-3 years ago. So I think this is all part of the plan for the Raiders. Like, I think that everything is going to plan. I think the only thing that's actually surprised them is how well KO Weeks has gone. I think that they probably expected Chevy Stewart to be their starting fullback this year in 25. But I think they've been shocked at, KO Weeks is actually, because when he came to the club, he was more of a utility 6-7. Then he went back to fullback and they were like, wow, this guy's good. So I think that outside of that, everything looks like it's going to plan for the Raiders right now. I mean, the fact that Reece Robson was interested in going and they said, no, we've got this young number 9 that we're going to be bringing through. Then you've got Ethan Strange that's probably ahead of schedule. So I think it's all going to plan for the Raiders. And as I said, I can understand both sides. I can understand Fogarty wanting to ask a question.
Yeah, agreed.
And I think the Raiders are doing the right thing also by saying, we're going to wait till round 6 and see where we can go from there.
I love that they're on that sort of building phase and building towards something, and even the mindset and mentality of Ricky that you mentioned. I love that. It's always good to see the Raiders doing well.
Yeah. And just sticking to a plan.
Yeah. Which I feel like has always been a bit of an issue, whether it's the roster or who we're signing, who we're recruiting, what the system is, who the coach is.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see some consistency like that.
Stability, this is what stability brings you. Is like, if you've had a coach for quite a while, you've had the same administration, or at the very least, key people in administration, you can plan 5 years in advance. Then you go across to a team like, whether it's the Broncos or the Knights, and you've got like new recruitment officers every 2 years, you've almost got to reset every 2 years. You're starting from scratch, having to sort out the salary cap. Like, when Kevy Walters came in, he had to sort out the salary cap. Now when Michael Maguire comes in, he's got all these big signings, decisions he has to make. Whereas you look at like Melbourne Storm, Penrith Panthers, look at the Penrith Panthers. This is like, when they're about to lose like a Luai or a Critter, they don't even sweat a bullet because they go, this is all planned. We knew we weren't going to afford him by year 3 or 4. Like Luai, they would have looked at Luai and said, we knew we were going to afford him this year. We've got this young guy coming through. Like, we've got the McLean brothers for outside backs. We've got edge back rowers. So, it's going to be interesting to see the Raiders over the next few years. I like what they're doing. It's just a matter now of executing and developing these young players into the best versions of themselves. That's the main challenge for them now. Yeah, they've got the right plan. It's just now about executing the plan. It's going to be tough. Alrighty, Tony Staggs is reportedly set to re-sign with the Broncos. Deal hasn't been signed yet. Reportedly 3 or 4 years. Broncos hope to get the deal done by round 1. This is the report. Nothing confirmed, guys. Look, I definitely don't mind the Tony Staggs re-signing. I actually really like that. He loves the club. He wants to be there. I think 4 years is a bit long at the moment. I don't know whether he's like... you really give 4-year contracts to either guys that are like really high demand in the market and you need to keep them, or young fellas that you're kind of putting on a bit low on money, but you're giving them security. I think a guy like Katoni, I think a 2 to 3 year deal, even a 2-year deal with a mutual option potentially. But I think a 2 or 3 year deal sounds about right. They put him in the leadership group, which is great, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, that is good.
And it's just a matter of, Michael Maguire just getting that work rate out of him, which I think that Michael Maguire will get the work rate out of him.
I think he's going to be the one to bring it out for sure. I agree with what you said. I think players who earn those longer term deals have just been ultra consistent, and you know what they're going to get and what they're going to contribute to the club. One thing I would say about Katoni, and you mentioned it, Maguire might be the catalyst to actually create a shift and a bit of maturity around Katoni and get that work rate that we know is his potential. But I do feel like a slightly shorter term deal, as mentioned, the 2-year, is just that motivation that, from what I've seen, Katoni probably needs.
Because, man, we all know he's a game breaker.
Yeah.
We all know Katoni Staggs, like
100%.
truly one of the rare centres that the game is going one way, then he makes it go a different way. A game breaker. It's just about, if you can just take those 10 or 12 hit-ups and turn it into 14 or 15. And look, I've always been unsure. Like, is it the game plan that has stopped Katoni from coming in? Because you'd know as well, like, the amount of times people go, we need you to have 20 runs a game. And then you're like, bro, I'm in a video session with my coach telling me not to do that because he wants me to stay on my edge to make sure that we have... And so you're trying to do a job for the coach, but you would love to have 20 runs a game. And so I've always really been unsure with Katoni, is like, has it been the game plan from the coaches saying to him, mate, we need you to keep your width, because if you don't keep your width, then you ruin our whole sets. But I reckon Michael Maguire, you go and look at his New South Wales selections, he selected outside backs that all have a lot of carries. And so I reckon his game plan will be, Katoni, give us 15, 16, 17 carries a game. If Katoni can do that, plus the big moments, he's a top tier centre in the game, in my opinion.
Centre in the game.
Easy. Like, if you get work rate and his explosive moments, I personally believe he's a top tier centre.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Matty?
You've covered off everything, Katoni, but when I read that yesterday, the first thing that popped into my head, and I'm sure a lot of people as well, is, well, what now with Cobbo? And that's basically, if Cobbo signed, it would have been, well, now what with Katoni?
Yeah, I think that's just like a natural... One of them, I don't think you're not keeping both, because they're just going to cost too much. I think that Selwyn's probably going to cost quite a bit more, because the tough thing with Selwyn is he probably could get like 800-900K from another club playing fullback.
Yeah, someone's throwing the
You know?
checkbook at him, bro.
And also his ceiling is seriously like...
Yeah.
His ceiling is one of the best outside backs in the game.
Yeah.
Period.
For sure.
Probably the one thing, yeah. Like, he doesn't have... Not that Katoni's got marks against his name, but, the controversies here and there, the things in his game that he needs to work on, whereas Cobbo, it's all uncharted territory. You know what he could be, and clubs are thinking, probably recruiting on potential, thinking about how much upside there is. So,
Plus, like, Cobbo's an elite winger, as you know, had a good year at centre, and everyone's talking about him as fullback. Like, he can play a lot of different positions in that back line.
It really just... It's a matter of, with Cobbo, It's about commitment to training. It's about him feeling comfortable at training, him being happy in his own life as a young fella. I guess that's the biggest question for him, is that if he were to go to another club for a big contract, a lot of pressure. Like, the one thing that
it has to be the right club.
Yeah, it has to be the right club. Look, the one thing, not just the one thing, sorry, but a part of Cobbo's game that I love so much is he's always got a smile on his face. He's playing rugby league, and that's all he cares about. The tough thing about when you sign these big deals is it becomes more than just going out there and having fun. You now have a responsibility that is different from, like, if you're an outside back on 300 or 400 grand a year, don't get me wrong, you've got responsibility, but you don't have the same responsibility as a guy on $1 million a year.
Expectations, yeah.
A guy on $1 million a year, every single game, if you aren't one of the best players on the field, you have not lived up to your price tag.
And you're known about it.
And you're known about it. And so I hope that Selwyn, I really hope that for the rest of his career, he keeps the smile on his face. You'd hate to see a guy like him, getting on the footy field and not enjoying it, because I think that's part of his strongest asset. Is he'll risk things, he'll try things, and if you try and dampen that too much, I don't know if he'll have that same flow that he has. Now it's just a matter of, like, seeing how committed he is at training, all that stuff. A committed Selwyn Cobbo, training super hard.
Could be anything.
literally could be anything. He is so talented. The stealing is. Whereas you look at Katoni, he's an out-and-out centre. I don't think he's a winger. He's not a fullback. Maybe you could play him at 6 as a pinch, but I think he is an out-and-out specialist centre, and so I think there's always going to be a cap on how much he can earn. Whereas Selwyn Cobbo, I do believe there are some clubs that would pay big bucks for him to play fullback. Whether you would agree or disagree with it, that's almost irrelevant. I just do think there are clubs that would go, you know what? We believe that we can help Selwyn reach his potential, therefore we're going to pay him fullback money. Yeah. Which is probably why it's going to be hard for the Broncos to keep him.
Broncos are such a big watch this year. I reckon that they're probably the most interesting team to watch, just how they're going to respond under
I think
Madge.
they're the biggest swing team for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Like they could be top 4 or they could be bottom 4. You just don't know. Like they could really respond well and be drawn to Michael Maguire's style, or maybe, they just don't. And
I got high hopes actually.
I personally wait till the preview where I've got them, but I've got high hopes. Yeah. I really do. And I back the boys to get around to trust. I just hope the boys just trust. Even if you disagree, even if you feel it's too harsh, just trust the process.
Yeah.
Because Michael Maguire, he's been there, he's done it. He's won premierships, he's won Origin Series, he's won, record margins for the Kiwis. It might be hard at times, it might feel like super unfair and, your body can't handle anymore. But if you just buy in and trust the process with your talent, it'll work.
And what we do know about Maguire, anywhere he's gone, like obviously bar the Tigers in that situation, the initial reaction at least has always been strong. And I think it's what the Broncos needed. I think last year's not really a great reflection of that Broncos team with the injuries and the underachievement. So yeah, I'm thinking they're going to do something pretty good.
Yeah.
Put it this way, when Madge went to South in 2012, that was the second time they had been in the finals since 1989, and the first time they made the prelim since 1989.
Yeah, and we've heard the stories about how he attacked that.
Yeah.
Complete shift.
And I think with the West Tigers, it's very hard to judge the results there because of everything going on behind the scenes. Yeah.
Well, as we've said a million times, hindsight, it actually doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, when you compare where they're at the moment. And so, I think the challenge for Michael Maguire will be, yes, you can have that immediate impact of intensity, but then how do you build longevity with that? How do you, because that was the one downfall with South was it was too intense for too long. I don't think that.
Yeah, he squeezed the limit a bit.
Yeah, and so it's just a matter of, and I think that he has. It's like anything, just like we don't expect rookies to come in and be the full package. We can't expect coaches improve too.
Oh hell yeah!
When we look at a player that's 18, by the time he's 26 or 27, he's a totally different player. And then by the time a coach is in his 8th, 9th, 10th year of coaching, he is a much better version of himself. He's learned to gel with different generations, learned to gel with different characters. So you can't wait. Now, just back on the Broncos as well, Jack Jajeski reportedly impressed Madge in the preseason and could be ahead of Piacora for a back row spot. I personally think that if it's just more of a little kick up the bum to Piacora to get the best version out of him. I can't see this happening. I'll be genuinely shocked if this happens.
Yeah,
it makes sense what you said.
There's no Piacora is one of the best talented back rows in the competition. I'd be super worried if he is not making the 17. That's huge concerns. Jajeski is, he's a battler. He gets through his work, all that good stuff. Yeah. But at the end of the day, Piacora is a young gun, and if he isn't making that 17, that's really worrying because he has all the talent in the world, all the talent in the world. So I just reckon it's one of those little cheeky slips of information, little story here that might get back to Piacora to go, oh, okay, I'm going to go out there and for example, you've seen Michael Maguire, he's a veteran, so saying things like, number 9 jersey, it's up for grabs, and I'm just going to wait to see how everyone plays, and that's just all about motivating those boys to play as hard as they can so he gets the best version of them.
Yeah, we've seen Madge use the media a lot. Like the glass houses thing.
Oh, mate.
That'll go down in history.
He's been around, this will be his, 16th year essentially as a professional coach?
2012 was his first year in NRL.
But he was over at Super League.
Super League he won with Wigan. So
you're looking at you're looking at nearly 20 years probably of head coaching.
And that's head coaching. Then before that he was with Bellamy in Melbourne.
Yeah, so we're talking about a master here, a genuine master. Okay. Don't forget, guys, grab yourself some Grumpy Coffee. Use code SOUSE from last week for 10% off your Grumpy Coffee order this week. It is the best coffee in all the land, guys. Trust me. If you haven't tried it, head over to grumpycoffee.com.au, grab some coffee. We've got multiple different blends. We've got pods, we've got ground, we've got whole beans. It's a beautiful, easy, smooth coffee. And I'll tell you what, it turns your frown upside down. It turns your frown upside down. Grumpy Coffee, grumpycoffee.com.au. And also Bloke Undies, the most comfortable premium undies. Use code AFB for 10% off your Bloke Undies. Yeah, there we go. Sandor's got them on. I tell no lies, guys. Trust me. You reckon the door is draping his body in anything less than the best?
Say draping my balls.
Well, that too. The draping his balls in anything less than the less. Okay, the sin bin /HIA idea was thrown up that a player can be retrospectively sin binned up to 15 minutes after committing an illegal tackle that results in an opposition player failing HIA. Won't be implemented during the season, but there were talks that it could be trialled in the trials. Hate it, don't like it. What are we doing? We've already got enough, rules where this or that could happen, and what if this happens? Look, I understand that it's human nature, and for judging a penalty on what happens to the player. So, for example, if you hip drop me and I just get up and play the ball, let's say you do the same hip drop, but I stay down and I get carried off, you're going to penalise me harder because you're going to penalise the second hip drop harder because I got carried off because I did my ankle.
100%.
I understand that's human nature. I get it. However, we need to try as hard as we can to not look at the result of the infraction, but rather look at the actual infraction and punish it accordingly. Because if we start leaning too heavily into, okay, how badly was someone injured? Like, how many weeks were they out? Or did they get fully knocked out? Did they not get knocked out? Then we'll just be giving penalties away. You're promoting diving then. You're promoting players staying down. So I don't like this stuff.
Yeah, it's got to be based on the action, not the outcome.
No.
Because it just gets real grey and subjective.
And
stupid.
Some people, there are some players that can play with a grade 1 and syndesmosis, and there's some players that can't.
Yeah.
And so the guy that goes off with the grade 1 is going to get the crazy penalty, and the guy that just keeps trooping on is going to get no penalty. And so, as I said, I know it's human nature, and we'll never be able to, I don't think we'll ever be able to separate. If you see a bloke on the ground, bleeding, blood coming out everywhere.
No, you won't.
You're only going to naturally penalise harder when you see that. I get it. But whatever we can do to reduce the gap between the actual action and the outcome, I think we need to do that.
I think the priority, it is a priority to be safe, but the priority should be the integrity of the game. And if you're sin binning someone 15 minutes later, it just ruins the game. If the ref has missed it, just suspend him after the game. Don't ruin that 80 minutes.
And just the sin binning, that used to be a semi-rare occurrence. It throws games too much.
And I've got to say, it always comes back around. I say this every single year, and I know people are probably sick of it by now. Have we ever had a team win a comp that didn't deserve to win the comp? Where reffing cost a team the competition? Very rarely. I know people go, the Canberra Raiders, the 6 again call. Okay, maybe once in the last 25 years. However...
Yeah, but they got robbed of an opportunity. They didn't get robbed of a try. Exactly,
and also, the Roosters had also defended their line for 20 minutes straight in that game. As I said, when was the last... it always comes back around. Yes, okay, you might feel you always get the dud calls, but then eventually you'll get a call that is dud to someone else. And I understand that the lower tier sides don't get as many calls as the top tier sides. But that's a problem across all sports, not just rugby league. It's a subconscious bias that has been studied before where the top tier sides just get the calls. That's life, unfortunately. It's not going to stop a team. For example, the Bulldogs, I'm sure a couple of years ago felt like they got can all of a sudden, they took their future into their own hands, and now they're becoming hopefully one of the top sides. And so yes, can we work as hard as we can to get rid of the howler? Absolutely. However, I do think let's not try and, as you just said, Matty, let's not ruin the integrity of the game. You're going to get that call eventually. Yeah. That call will come back around. If you miss a call, it'll come back around eventually, in my opinion. Use code DMP for 10% off. Head to begoodhealth.com.au. Good Day multivitamin. Absolutely best in the business. Super convenient. You can use it anywhere. Just pour it in your water, shake it up, boom, you get your multivitamin. Tom Hazleton. The Dolphins have reportedly met with Tom Hazleton as a contingency plan should Flegler have to medically retire. Negotiations with Newcastle have reportedly stalled. Man, Tommy at the Dolphins, don't mind that. Don't mind that.
I love it for Tommy. Just get that Get that bag.
Yeah, get the big contract, mate. I feel like it does feel like it's pretty much a writing on the wall for the Sharks that they're not going to be able to keep him, which sucks because I do think he could have built such a cult hero following there.
And the Sharkies, yeah.
Got to say, did you hear the news? The Knights looking like red hot favourites for Dylan Brown.
Wow.
Oh, I can't believe I forgot to put that in. Yeah.
It's crazy. And matter of fact, and look, this is just reports, but speaking to people at the club, according to Webby, they're actually not against him playing 7 for the Knights, which I was shocked at because I was like, we saw him play 7 for the Eels and like, you know, he tried his hardest, but it just didn't seem to work. He, in my opinion, he's an out-and-out 6 and he's one of the best 6 in the game. And also, if he fulfills his potential, he could be the best 6 in the game. That's what his potential suggests.
But is that coming from they're open to play 7? Is that because he wants to play 7?
No, I don't think so. I think that it's more from maybe the money that they're considering.
Because the Knights don't have a 6 or a 7 like fully locked in. So that's
which is like that's another thing I brought up. I was like, as a half going to that club, you'd be like, okay, are you going to like give me an opportunity? Like you're not going to chop and change constantly.
Yeah, and we discussed that halves merry-go-round with the Knights. Like,
granted, I understand it's a little bit different. If you buy a player for $1 million, you're not bloody moving him out of that spot for a while. But me personally, I think Dylan Brown's an out-and-out 6.
Yeah, for sure.
Agreed.
And I think he's one of the best 6. At his best, he's one of the best 6s in the competition. And I think that the Knights looking at him as a 7, it's just like, yes, him and KP, that's a friggin' good combo, but that's a lot of money in a spine that unfortunately just yet hasn't won a premiership. Like I understand, for example, why the Storm put so much money into their spine because they had a whole run of that working for them. And also, Munster's won a premiership, Pappy's won a premiership, Harry Grant's won a premiership, Hughes has won a premiership. So it's you're willing to keep investing in that spine in that process. Whereas like if you're going to bring a guy to a club, like have 2 people in your spine on huge wickets and invest all the money into your spine, and then not be able to spend as much on everyone else, they've essentially got to keep that spine has to keep you in the top 4, like just has to. So yeah, interesting. Look, if they were to get him to the club to play 6 for like $1 million or 900, I love that. I love that.
And then you've got like, so you've obviously got KP, you got him, then you just have someone like just a halfback.
7.
Yeah,
just an out-and-out 7.
Just a cog. Put Cogger there.
The kicking game.
Put Cogger there. You've got Dylan Brown, KP, and then Brayley at 9. I love that.
Yes, much different scenario.
And you just like if you can get him for 900 to $1 million. I know people go, well, it's it's only 200 less, but it's like that 200 could be the difference between instead of paying your centre 400k, you can pay him 600k a year. Like that's the difference between keeping a Origins like level centre. So if they brought him to the club as a 6, like him and KP in the heart, like imagine Dylan Brown's running game, an ability to square blokes up with KP floating around him.
Yeah, I love it.
Be unbelievable.
I wonder if what he'd move for though. I guess that's the that's the big one.
And maybe it has to be 1.2. I don't know, but in a perfect world, him around $1 million.
Yeah.
And as I said, it's not that far off. So look, if it was 1.2, I'm not complaining that. I'm not sitting there going, wow, that's way overs. Why would you do that? But let's say if they could land him in $1 million and put him at 6, him and KP coming at you is like one of the most dangerous combos ever.
It's cracker.
I didn't expect it when that news popped up on my Instagram the other day.
Yeah. I was surprised. The biggest surprise for me was just the fact that they were open to him moving to 7. And I was just like, I reckon he's just a gun 6, like a gun 6. He's so good there.
Doesn't make sense.
I haven't read into that actually. That doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah, look, that doesn't necessarily mean they're saying, we're definitely buying him, he has to play 7. It was just that apparently, the club is like, we would be willing to look at him as a 7. And look, to be fair, like you look at Luai, he was a 6, he went to the Tigers. I think Luai's quite a bit different. He's won premierships. And that's what I mean. Like, you're willing to pay that for a guy like Luai. He's won 4 premierships. Like, that's locked in that value for him.
And Luai's done it a bit at 7 and really proven himself.
Really proven himself for sure. But if they could get him at 6 for around $900 million, then that's I saw somewhere written that he's already on 900k, Dylan Brown. I was like, what?
Yeah, a few people have said that.
Really?
That doesn't make
doesn't make sense with the structure of his deal.
Exactly.
That we discussed.
So you're telling me the Eels said, not only
That's
will we
bullshit.
pay you $900K a year, we'll give you a contract that lasts 10 years and you can pretty much opt out of it unless we give you more money every 2 years.
No way.
There's no way. Come on, give the Eels some credit. The only reason they gave him that deal that was so many clauses was purely because they said, we're going to pay you unders.
It's the only thing that makes sense.
It would be if he's on $900K
with multiple outs.
with all these outs, it's the worst rugby league deal in history.
The worst.
Literally the worst. And so I don't believe it.
No, I don't
give the
believe
Eels
it at
more
all.
credit. This Eels administration, I know they haven't been going that great last couple of years. They're still the same administration that got this club to a grand final. Give them some credit. There's no way they do that. They just wouldn't. So when I saw some of these reports about people saying he's 900K, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. And also from a Dylan Brown perspective, why would you go on the open market
exactly.
for an extra 100K when you've got a contract that's 10 years long with all these options out and you're already on essentially $1 million? It doesn't. I'd rather stay on the contract that has all these options out than go and get locked in a deal for $1 million a year. It doesn't make
because
sense.
you're never getting that deal again.
No one's ever giving that deal. Never.
Doesn't exist.
They don't exist.
Yeah.
They don't exist. But anyway, but as I said, to kind of wrap a bow on it, if the Knights can jag him for a 6 at a reasonable price, I love it. I think him in a Knights jersey would be awesome. Don't get me wrong, I would still prefer him to stay at the Eels and build something with Mitchell Moses. But if you're just looking at selfishly from a Knights perspective, I think it's a good get. I think it's a good get.
100%.
That's a bloody good get, yeah.
Alrighty, guys, we are done and deuced. Anything else, boys? Make sure to give Sandor a follow. Alan will fuel. And also, you've got YouTube now. You're doing the vlogs.
Yeah, I'm getting in the content game, my man, the Muffin Man.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we're ripping in.
There you go.
There you
go.
It's vlog season this year, isn't
It's
it,
vlog
bro?
season, baby. So make sure to subscribe to Sandor Earl's YouTube, Instagram, all that good stuff. Grab some coffee, grumpycoffee.com.au. Grab some bloke undies at bloke.shop. And as usual, we'll all go and fuck ourselves. Thank you.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.